Good morning, everybody. It's your Thursday, Friday. Yeah, okay, enough of that. Listen, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to give you a SMOA briefing because that's why it says for my military, my combat action, and all those other friends, the ones that are kind of specifically targeted in this. Because when we do this briefing this morning, and incidentally, if you see me do this, it says lead with faith. It's a little lip balm thing. It's for blessing people. However, I need to anoint my mouth before I start talking all this stuff. But so today we're going to give you a SMOA. I still do that. I don't know if you're not taking me seriously because I wasn't talking like this, or if you weren't taking me seriously because of long hair and beard. If that becomes an issue as well, I'll shave it. No big deal. I did this for a year to see if I could do it for a year, but I will compromise that moral if it'll get you to listen, or that value or whatever it is. It's not really. It's just I wanted to do it for a year. Haven't done it in a long time, 40 years, whatever. All right, so a SMOA briefing is SITREP, Mission, Overview, and Action. If you've worked with me, you know I use that acronym, SMOA. SITREP, Mission, Overview, and Action. And then at the end, we're going to talk about who had the mission before us. And the reason that we do that is because if you worked in Afghanistan or Haiti or one of those other places overseas, you know that you're coming into a situation that someone else has been working on for a year. You don't know what they've been doing for the last year. But 2 years ago, 3 and 5 years ago, you could have been there and it was awesome and off the wall. And then when you got back, you're like, hey, how did this happen? How did we deteriorate when we were building on something? So you want to know. So if you left the church for a while and now you're back, let's say like maybe I did for a while. You left the church for a while and now you're back, and it's this time in the world. Now, luckily I came back at a time, it's like re-enlisting right before World War II. That's what I did. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go back to church. And it was before 2020. So when I started going back, people were still singing Kumbaya, and we were getting into small groups and discussing the size of, pre-biblical wheels and just, weird off the wall stuff. And it was good and entertaining, and I learned a lot about what it meant to love people, what it meant to tolerate people who were not military people, because it's toleration. We tolerate those people because we serve to protect them, and then most of the time they walk around very entitled. So we understand that, we have a feeling about that. It makes you feel some kind of way. Those of us who served in Afghanistan usually feel double that, or Vietnam double that, or Iraq double that, because we know that we served, we sacrificed, we saw our friends killed, and then we came home to somebody who cuts us off on the freeway just so he can zip in and get right before you in line at the Starbucks, and then he's mad and screeching his tires because they didn't have soy almond milk with a latte oat something, and then he's getting out of his car, he's blocking the whole thing, and you're just like, really? This is what I watched Jimmy John die for? He died for that? So a little spoiled, and he's flipping you off. There's a lot of indignance that goes along, right? So if you've been out there and just getting upset at the world and you can't understand why, that's because you served in a military where the leaders had something called a biblical worldview. So in this biblical worldview, we basically trusted our leaders to take the choices that they were given, pray about them, and make those choices according to what God would have his will be. So why do I say that? Because that's what we've been doing since the founding of this country, when we first started to fight for our independence in 1770. But even before that, some of my relatives came here in about 1650, escaping religious persecution. That has been the theme of our country. So taking that into consideration, you look back, names matter, right? So what is my name? My name is Death Row, all right? Oh, that sounds very weird. Okay, but it's not. It's actually a German name, Dieter, but before that it was Detero, right? So you look at all these things and you go back and you say, okay, well, what does Dietrich mean? What does Dieter mean? So Dieter means army of the people. Traditionally and ironically, maybe it's a God thing. Who knows? I don't know about this portion of it, but I will say this. Our family has served in the military in some capacity in every war since the founding of this country. In fact, we've served in the military in every generation, whether it was my direct family. A couple of occasions it was indirect because those people died. But every war or every situation, when there was time for someone to be called, every situation, someone in our family is gone since the founding and even before of this country. So, do I know what I'm talking about? As far as lineage goes, yeah, I do. As far as serving in the military, am I a combat veteran? Yeah, I waited in line and my number actually came up a couple times. So I went. I have children that have served in the military now. So I base this on, first of all, the authority that I had as a Christian. So that's one, all right, because we're all ministers, right? We're all ministers. And then the second part of that is my experience, based on my training experience. This is why I'm giving you a SMOA briefing. So the SITREP, what is the SITREP? Well, right now we have people around America and they're going to universities and they're protesting against the Jewish people. Why is that important to you? Because America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. That means that we believe in things like the Ten Commandments. Even though we've allowed secularists and atheists and pagans to take the Ten Commandments out of the public square, we as a nation said, hey, we kind of agree to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to base all our laws on those basic 10 rules. So that's kind of what we did. And then because we had Christ in our lives, we also believe in the power of prayer, and we believe that we were grafted into the tree of the Jewish people. So that's what it means to be a Christian, because at first the only people that were going to be saved were Jews. That's right. So who went around and fixed that? Well, he didn't fix it, but God talked to him and another fella, Peter and another fella, I said him. He talked to Peter and another fella and got him to go to a Gentile's house, and then he had to go say in front of the council, hey, look, these guys get the reward too. It wasn't just for Jews. That message of salvation is for everyone. So we know that. So there's a message of salvation. Our God is still alive. We know this. Every other person that has another religion around the world, their God or their person that represented them is dead. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Ours is the only God that's still alive. I'll go along with the God of life. All right. I've been forgiven and redeemed. So we've already gotten past that. So if you're not gotten past that, there's Genesis 1:1, John 3:16, and Romans 10:9. So if you're not there, you can read those and figure it out. That's in the Bible. So the situation right now is we have people all over America on college campuses, and they're protesting against Israel. They're protesting for Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. They are primarily Muslim. All right, being honest with you, they are primarily Muslim. So right now you have a Judeo-Christian nation being invaded by someone who is not like us. We have freedom of religion, and that's fine for you to peacefully practice your religion someplace else. Or, in your home or out in the public square, that doesn't matter either. But the idea is to make sure that other people feel intimidated by your message is not what we're looking for in America. That we don't do that here. So our leaders, if you have a kid in one of those elite universities, you need to pull them out right now. We've already seen that 2020 showed us your kid can take a break from schooling. So make them take a break. And if you want to send them back to that raggedy ass college later on, you can. But I'd pull my kid out of that thing right now. If they're protesting against the Jewish people, the next people they're coming across for is Christians. Not the ones that capitulate and say, everybody, oh yeah, we call ourselves Christians, but we're not really. I'm talking about Christians, people who believe in the actual Bible. People who believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and came here to redeem us from our sins. So those people are called Christians, and those of us who follow Christ are called Christ followers. So mission, what is your mission? Your mission is to rescue and empower disciples for Jesus. That's basically our whole mission on planet Earth. We're to rescue and empower disciples for Jesus. It's not just some catchy phrase that I got from a church. It is actually, but it's not. What it's there to do is to give you guidance on what we're supposed to do. And if you want to find out how to do that, that's in the gospel. That's why we're going to look at Acts over there. So you better know your own mission. The other thing is know your role and be prepared to talk about it. If you have a role or you have a question, questions are at the end. But if you have a role in this, be prepared to talk about it, and be prepared to talk about it intelligently. Don't just say, hey, the Lord put on me. The Lord put on me. Because if you keep doing that, of course, the Lord put it on us all to do stuff. I'm listening and I'm acting, but So I'll just take that as a given that the Lord put, but I'm going to listen to what you have to say with discernment. All right. So know who the key players were and know what the spirits in the world are today. The spirit in the world of, one of the spirits in the world today is Jezebel. Know who Jezebel in the Bible was. How do you do that? Well, there's a book called Judges, and there's another one called Kings, and there's another one called Daniel. So if you read those are from the Old Testament. So if you're a Jewish friend of mine, you probably are familiar with that if you follow the Torah. So you know who those people are. If you think that you're hearing the spirit of Jeremiah, and that's the one that tells the king, hey man, there you got no hope, and within a year this dude's going to be dead and that kind of thing. If you're hearing that, or you think you're hearing it's the end of the world, what you're probably experiencing is called fear. If you think that there's still hope, I'm going to tell you there is still hope at this particular juncture. Some people like to say there is always hope. I'm going to tell you there is not always hope. At some point, God's judgment will come on here. Depending on the severity of our actions is the severity of the punishment we will receive, based on our repentance. That's why I said, hey, get on your knees and pray to God and say, hey, I'm sorry. Think about this. In Genesis 1:1, we agreed that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God has been and always has, will be, and all that other stuff, right? So we're talking about a supreme being that we don't fully understand. He's out there, but he knows and sees and does everything. And we're a tiny little project that he has, and he has taken his favor. Now, the Bible never tells us why. It tells us that he loves us, but he never tells us why he loves us. And you know, it's kind of like your kids. Why do you love your kids? Because they're your kids. I don't know. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass, but they're your kids, right? So we know that. Know your role in this whole mission, though. If you think that you're here to tell everybody the end is near, guess what? Someone's already doing that, okay? You are not, your message is not the end is near. I guarantee you your message. My message, I'll tell you, honestly, watch this. My message is the end is near. I mean, and I'm telling you now, so if you don't change your ways, it's gonna come. That's it. So that's the whole message as far as the end of near that needs to be, and you know, the end is at hand, all the stuff that says that, you got the message, right? So that's all that needs to be said about it. But the spirit of Daniel and the spirit of Gideon and all these other little Matthew out there, all those the spirits of, they counterbalance some of that, the spirit of Jezebel, but there's only a small fraction of these people out there. They're trying their hardest, but there's only a small fraction. So we're getting into the collective overview, all right? So we're transitioning into the collective overview. The collective overview is, there is a Bible. It has gone the entire time that man has been here. It basically gives you a rundown of what happened before. In the before, people got to be exactly where we're at right now. They got out of control with technology and everything else. They were just living for themselves. They forgot about God. So God said, okay, you forgot about me, I'm going to flood the earth. And he told a guy named Noah, hey, build an ark. And so for 100 years, he built an ark, and everybody thought he was a crazy guy. And then at the end, it starts to rain. Rain had never happened before. I'm pretty sure if you look at the way the earth was laid out and Pangea and all those other things people like to talk about, the crazy, hey, well, it's not that crazy, because we know the earth is tilted on its axis, and what would happen if it blah, 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 and separation of the lands and all this other stuff. So a great flood occurred. However you want to say that happened, I believe that it happened. And we lost all our technology. So after that, after the flood, we have a more detailed record, because they said, you know what, we should write this stuff down, seeing as how we lost everything before the flood, except for these sparse bits of information that God wanted us to know. So aside from that, there's your Bible, there's your reference tools, your big overview. Read the Bible, understand what's gone on in the past 24 years for sure. So you know that, you have to look for other references. But before that, you can read all about what happened before that, because Jesus comes. I'm not going to give it away. Yeah, I will. Jesus comes, all right, and then he spends 30-something years on this earth. But at the age of 30, that's when it kind of kicks in. So for the next 3 years, he's walking around, he's doing this whole, hey, your sins can be forgiven thing. And then they get mad at him for miracles and all this other stuff. So you can read that, it's in there too. It's all part of your briefing. Know the information. I know that sometimes when you get to a place like Afghanistan, we got like 18 pages of acronyms that you had to know. It seemed overwhelming at first, but at the end you were just speaking gibberish like everybody else. Hey, while I'm on that subject too, don't use gibberish and jargon. All right, there's Bible stuff that you can talk about, and that's real easy. You know, hey, John 3:16 says, in the beginning. But when you start using gibberish and jargon, those, and I'm not talking about acronyms like, hey, Matthew, MT, you know, look there, and you're using acronyms or something else. No, I'm talking about the gibberish and jargons. Hey, are you going to go to Soupy Sale? What? I don't know what that is. I honestly, oh, you know, when everybody gets together and then they do this and they do that for Jesus. Now, I've never heard of that. That sounds like a jargony thing to me. Why don't you tell me? Oh, well, it's where we go give food to the homeless. Okay, we'll call it that. Stop with the nonsense. This is the other thing. All right, action. So action, now we're getting into action. How do I take action? So the mission is to rescue and empower disciples for Jesus, right? Also, you're trying to square your own self away. So I have to make sure that you understand you can't tell someone to wipe their ass if your ass still smells, okay? So did I say ass? Yeah, this is for my Marine friends. So if you're that sensitive, you don't like me saying ass, I'm sorry. Beat it. It's not for you. This video isn't for you. So you can't take action if you're not prepared to go out on patrol, right? So if you're not prepared to go out and do this mission, if it's patrol, if you're going on a you're part of the big mission, all right? If you're part of the big mission and you're gonna go out and you're taking action, make sure that you're not doing something that's like actively sinning. We all sin and come short of the glory of God. Yes, it's true. And you can't help yourself. I'm not gonna get into that debate either. All right, where does your mind go when you're doing certain activities? So I'm not going to talk about the debate of how much sin is whatever. And God does use broken vessels, so get out there and do it. Even if you think you're a piece of crap, get out there and do it. Try to set the best example you can. Keep repenting and that kind of thing. But the people that had the mission before us, we've already talked about that. I've already talked about you're not Jeremiah. You have hope out there, so there's way to get out there and do stuff. I still have hope, so if there's still hope, you still have hope, believe me. Let's see, what else? I would say that the biggest thing is know your role and be prepared to step outside of it. So here's what the deal is. When you're working with multi-units, right? So let's say you have an Army National Guard guy, and you think, oh, he's an Army National Guard guy, that's all he is. Okay, but on the civilian side, he owns his own company that sends people overseas to work for the State Department. Nobody knows that's the guy because he's there in another capacity. And if you're humble and you assume your role with humility, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody has to be the big boss. Nobody has to push their agenda forward. I'm not pushing any agenda. What I'm saying is, regardless of what denomination you are, regardless of what it is that you put in front of Christian or the label at your church, we have to go into a period right now where we're working in a multi-unit task force. And that task force needs to pray for the people of Israel. We need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We need to pray for peace on our college campuses. We need to pray for the peace of America, that our leaders start making timely and godly decisions. The last thing we need to pray for is for the truth always to be exposed. That's what we need out there, is the truth to be exposed. We're dealing with a whole generation of people that are unfamiliar with the Holocaust, even though they had it taught to them in school. They're unfamiliar with things they don't believe, but they're dealing with an older generation that thinks it can never happen here. It's actually happening here. It's not a theory, it is happening. It's not a conspiracy, it's happening. Turn on the news, turn it off after about 7 minutes, but turn on the news, it is actually happening here. Anti-Semitic protests against Jewish people. That's what they did in Germany right before they started rounding them up. And if you think it can only happen to them, right behind the Jewish people are the ones they grafted into the tree. That's Christians. Whether you call yourself a Baptist or a Presbyterian or a Lutheran or whatever you're calling yourself, you need to get this out of this and start cooperating with the will of God. Pray that God's will be done. pray for the peace of our country, and pray that we get a level head. If you can't see that the decisions we've made worldwide go against God, to include what we've made domestically, where we've decided to take the holiest day on the Christian calendar and turn it into a recognition day of transmogrators or whatever it's called. I don't think that's a respectful thing to do. They could have picked any other Sunday on the 52-week calendar, but they did it on that day specifically to challenge us. So let's accept the challenge. If you're not a godly man, try your best. It's all in the Bible. Don't miss this. This is what you've been saving up all your preconditioned foods and building your bunker for. Just like the Jews that were waiting for the Messiah, guess what? You've been waiting for him, and you've been expecting him to do one thing. God is moving in the earth right now. Whether or not it's just for our country, I know he's moving all over the world, but our country's about to see judgment. So either we're going to cooperate with God, and you're going to go out there with all those happy spirits and find hope and think that I'm just a negative guy talking about negative things and whatever, and I'll show him I'll be a super Christian. That's what I want. So you go out there and do that. I'll give it my best shot too. All right. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? Right. So I'm giving it my best shot. I'm loving people, and sometimes I love them from a distance when they get annoying. All right. So that's how we deal with that. If you have any questions, if you want to call me up and talk for a little bit, if you're still feeling suicidal, all right, give me a call, because we need to get past that season of, oh, me, stop thinking about me. We need to get past that season and start saving America. This is what you're called to do, gentlemen. You're either going to accept the mission or you're not. And I'll talk to you like this once in a while, just so you understand. The other videos, I'm trying to be a little bit softer, because you can reach people that maybe don't understand, or they're curious about us, guys. There are people curious about your service. Tell them that you served, and then find a way to step into, hey, another way to serve those by serving the Lord. I mean, it's real easy. I'm not telling you to stop any behavior. You'll want to stop some of it because you'll know it's wrong. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't join in this spiritual battle, you're going to be joining in a physical battle later on. Maybe that's what you want, because the spirit of Antichrist wants us to have all the negative things associated with the fall of a society. All right, whether or not it's the fall of our country or the return of Jesus, I don't have any clue. I'm not one of those guys who pretends. I'll tell you what, though, I am a guy that can read the Bible. I'm a guy who, you guys know I love history. What happens right before, you can see there's a funky, I use the N, there's a funky time in history right before a big war. Guys, this is it. And as our morals and values change, who told us parading sin in the middle of the street was okay? Did you guys vote on that? I didn't. I didn't think, oh yeah. And more people are joining them and saying sin is better than church. Why have we made sin more appealing than church? Why have we made that a lifestyle to set our goals for? And let's pick better examples, better heroes, right? I know plenty of guys that you could pick as a hero, even if you don't want to show your kids that you can be a hero too, or your grandkids. It's all about them, man. If we don't train our grandchildren right now to be Christ followers, they're going to be controlled by the AI, the government, everybody else but Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit and God, they don't control you. They don't make you do things you don't want to do. You have to voluntarily put your life out there and say, I want to serve you. You have to say that. That's, nobody makes, hey, the Lord put on me to do this. I believe that, I do. But the Lord, he made me do all these weird things. No, I don't believe that shit at all. That's nonsense. No, he won't make you do anything embarrassing. If you're embarrassed to serve the Lord, that's on you, buddy. So if you're embarrassed to go say something to somebody, that's on you. But if you think that I'm going to use God or Jesus to excuse my weird behavior, that's on you too. Your weird behavior is your weird behavior. If I act like a weirdo, that's because of me. God didn't make me act like a weirdo. I'm just a weirdo. Those of you who've known me my whole life know that I'm a weirdo, all right? I was just a very responsible one. I'm still a very responsible one. I just like to do stuff like skateboard, all right? I won't ever buy something other than a globe board. I love globe boards and bands. No, I'm not plugging it for a commercial or anything. Specific things I like. So, I mean, and I'm kind of, that would make me weird. I'm 56 years old. I'm still riding a skateboard. Yeah, that's a little weird. Aside from that, though, I mean, I'm still the same guy. I'm still the same regular guy. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's happened is my eyes have opened, and I realized the government and everybody else is trying to take away our freedom that God gave us. God gave us our freedom. The government doesn't control your freedom. All they do is put more restrictions on you. Hey, for your safety, I'm going to make you do this. It's for your safety. God never does that. If I pray to God and say, God, thank you for keeping me safe. I've walked through a mortar barrage with just clothes on. With just like no armor on, I would just had clothes. I survived somehow. So for my safety, they were going to force me to wear all this other stuff or what? Okay, that's great, but that's not how it went down. When it went down, I'm unscathed, okay? That's because I trusted in God. So you put your faith in the government, I'll put my faith in God. And then we elect people that hopefully are making godly decisions with a biblical worldview. They understand how the world is supposed to unfold, and no one's looking for the end of times. So if you know how the end of times works, I mean, a little piece. I was never a Revelations guy. I don't read Revelations. I've read it one time, and that was with Pastor Allen on this, hey, read a Bible thing. I read Revelations once before, maybe with my mom, maybe. I mean, she told me a long time ago, don't get into Revelations because all you're doing is remorsing or pre-remorsing over an end that hasn't even happened yet, or you're scared, you're showing fear. That's the other thing. That's that whole message of it. No, there's no hope is fear. If you think there's no hope, there's fear. Because I will tell you, I know when I'm ready to say there is no hope, it's not out of fear. It's just the truth. Do you understand? That's the difference between having a message of there's no hope and being afraid. Because guess what, fellas? If the end comes tomorrow, right now I'm making a land deal. You understand what I'm saying? If you read the Bible, you do. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm going to be okay. If you're a Christian and the country collapses and the economy fails, you're going to be okay. If they take over and they start putting us in concentration camps and killing us because that message spreads, you're still going to be okay because you're a Christ follower. And we know where we're going when it's done. This isn't a game. This isn't a made-up book. It's not a history book. It's God's book that gave us direction on how to live, what was going to happen, why we're here. It explains why we're here. It explains how you can be better and shine in God's eyes. You can't get to work by doing acts of works. That doesn't happen. But you have to believe in God. You have to believe. This is boot camp. You're sent here. You come in the form of a little baby. You get an earth suit. And then when it's over, that little thing inside of you that gives you your gleam, you know, that you see that leaves people's eyes when they're dead. Like as they're dying, you'll watch it where it just, that little thing that fades out, that's your soul. It kind of it's metaphorically representing your soul. I've seen it. I haven't seen someone's soul. I don't see ghosts or anything like that. I don't see dead people. But I've seen I've felt the life force leave out of somebody. So I know that we have a life force inside of us. That's not a question. I've felt the life force leave out of someone. So I know we have a life force in us. So because I know that, I had to find what's it all about. And I found it inside the Holy Bible. And I know that when it's over, that little life force is going someplace. Where do you want that little life force to go? Think about that. So you have Genesis 1:1, John 3:16, and Romans 10:9. So if you're looking at those for the overall briefing, if you take those into consideration, and then just have faith, and just have faith. How do I just have faith? Every time that you start to think and question about it and rely on your own understanding, that's in Proverbs. Put that out of your mind. I'm not saying erase your brain and don't use common sense. Because you know what, I can look at sedimentary rock and there's other things that I see that I don't exactly know how it worked out or what happened, because I'm not going to rely on my own understanding. Everybody knows I'm not that smart. You know I'm not a genius. All right. Things that I don't understand, I'll look into later on. But as far as the basic word, here, I'm going to tell you, this is I don't like doing this, sitting down here, but I'll tell you. Here's the last thing I'm going to tell you. The softer version of things, as far as making them basic and making people understand them, there is a God. God sent his son, and if you believe in him, you'll have everlasting life. The other thing is, in that Bible, it tells us how to have our freedom. So that's what we're looking for, freedom, right? All right. So everybody wants to be free. Well, you know, I bet your neighbor wants to be free. So love your neighbor with all your heart. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. See, that's why I hate it when I make the bloopers, because I only do these in one take, and I would be a liar if I went back and did it another way. Wait, did I say it? Okay, so love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah.